This is an oral history interview conducted for the Witness to War Serving a Nation project at Nauset Regional High School on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. For the sake of this interview, please state your full name and community in which you now reside.
Daniel G. Marini, live in Chatham.
Were any of your family members enlisted? If so, which conflict did they serve in?
I had a sister that was in the Second World War, and
What did she do?
she was in the Waves, it's a Coast Guard, and she was honorably discharged from there.
Did you have any other family members that served?
Maybe way back, I think I had one of my grandfathers, I think, was in the Civil War. And, but, you know, it was kind of vague, so I don't really know. But that's about all I know of.
What was your favorite childhood memory?
Going fishing with my father.
Where did you go fishing?
In ponds and streams up around in the South Shore. That's, you know, Cohasset and local stuff too. So.
When you were young, were you like interested in fighting and in the armies?
Not really. But when I was of age, and I was, 18 or whatever, I had to sign up for the draft, and when the Korean War started, then they started really calling people up. So I had to do some real thinking whether to get drafted or join up in the Air Force. Seemed like it might be good for me. I might even learn something. So that's why I joined up. And when I joined up, it was for 4 years. And but I only stayed for 3 because I had the Korean War was going along pretty well, and they had a whole bunch of guys that they had over there, and so that I had a chance to get back here, which I did. Excuse me.
Were you drafted or did you enlist in the military?
No, I enlisted.
Why did you enlist?
Well, because I thought it was going to be a better deal than getting drafted.
Was it?
Well, I had 4 other friends that were going to come with me that day to get inducted, and when the time came, and it was around Christmas time, I think, or just after Christmas, we had to go into the South Station up at Boston and really enlist. And when it came time, I was the only one that showed up. So, and the others all ended up in one in Hawaii, one in Germany. They had fat cat assignments, and then I ended up going to Korea.
What was the most beautiful area in Korea? Can you describe it?
I don't know. No, I never saw anything that was really beautiful. I mean, they had some mountains and rice fields, and that's about it that I can remember. I don't, of course, I'm sure there were some beautiful places over there, but I never got to see them.
Did you ever see conflict?
No.
What were your feelings at the time when you enlisted? Were you scared?
Well, I wasn't really scared. I was apprehensive, and I figured I'd have company with me, but I went alone, and I did meet some guys from the South Shore, though, that had enlisted, and I became friendly with them. So
What branch of military were you involved in?
the Air Force.
When you first got to Korea, what did you do?
Find a place to lay down and go to sleep. We ended up. It was late at night when we landed there, and I think I was the only medic. There was other guys, a couple other guys, but they were in different places, and so the only thing that was available that night was a tent outside a Quonset hut, and there were a couple of the guys in there, and that was it.
What was your happiest memory from the war?
Coming home. I think everybody's happy to do that.
What was your proudest moment?
Oh, I don't know. I used to love to see those planes coming in and going out. And I knew what they were doing, you know, it was necessary. But they were about through, though, those planes, so the jets are just starting to come in. And one day I was walking down on the runway, and it was one of these runways that are all like crinkly iron sheets. That's what they had for, and I was just walking, coming up from down the shore, walking up towards a medical facility, and all of a sudden I heard this roar. Like, just coming up the runway, I was on one side, on the other side, this jet came down like this and went right up into the sky. And that's the first time I've seen, you know. So I knew then, I guess even the pilots there that were flying those older machines, you know, knew that things are going to change. So.
Were you involved in basic training?
Oh yeah.
What was the first day of that like?
Really a surprise, let me tell you. We ended up going to Texas, and you know, when you line up and everybody's the first time and this and that, and we didn't get uniforms for about 3 weeks because everything was all interrupted. They were taking in so many guys and shipping them over there, and it was a real mess. But you know, when the first sergeant lined everybody up, you had to stand at attention, and you know, don't move your head, or don't do this, don't do that, and boy, when guys didn't do it, they got slammed down. I mean, they got banged, and so you learn that you can't fool around. And that was a lesson learned, believe me.
Did you have any friends going into the service?
Yeah, I had 3 or 4 of them who didn't come. That was it. I never knew anybody when I was going. I did meet some. We had to get on a train in South Station, and
you made some
I
friends?
met a few guys, you know, from Nantasket and, you know, close by, but nobody that I really knew. But I became friendly with them.
What year did you enlist?
It was either 1950 or 51. Right, you know, it was right at the beginning of the year. It was probably 51, and yeah, that was it, 51, and then I think it was in June. that I headed overseas. In the meantime, I went to a medical school, and I was qualified for a surgical technician's assistant, and that was what I had on my sheet as being able to do. So that's how I shipped over, and but things change, you know. You're never going to get the same thing twice. So I found that out in a hurry.
Was your family affected by going to serve in Korea?
Oh, I don't know. I know my mother was. She wrote me practically every day I was over there.
Did you write her?
Yep. Yep. It's because we didn't get the mail every day. You know, we'd get it. You know, I'd get a stack of letters like that, and I don't know. That's a really close tie that you have. So, yeah.
How long were you in the military?
3 years.
Did being enlisted in the military change you as a person?
Yeah, I think so.
How?
I learned you have to have discipline, and I also learned that some of the people in the service that higher ranked than you can tell you to go jump off into a lake, and you know you're supposed to do it. So I didn't like that part of it. I wouldn't mind being, you know, taking orders, but some of the orders that I had to take, you know, I just didn't go along with it. But you have to do it anyway.
Before you went to Korea, did you understand why the war was being fought?
Vaguely.
When you got there, did you change your mind about that?
Well, I only saw a small part of it, you know. I know a couple of those pilots never came back, but, you know, I was really confined, and we never got any outside news either. I had a shortwave radio, and I used to have that on, and I tuned that in, and we lived in Quonset huts, and because the mosquitoes over there are bad, so we had to sleep inside mosquito netting and stuff. And so it was, like I say, it was just one small area and a lot of stuff going on, but most of that was up north.
What was your worst memory from Korea?
Oh, I saw a whole bunch of South Korean soldiers wounded. They didn't come to our facility because we were too small, but they were just in the back of a truck, and I just looked in there and I just said, holy mackerel.
What did you want to do when you first got home from the war?
Say that again?
What did you want to do when you first got home from the war?
Well, I was just happy to get home with the family and stuff. Just being there was enough for me.
What was the culture like in the areas that you served in?
Well, there was a town maybe 2 or 3 miles from our base, and I don't know. When I first got there, those people all looked like the same. But then after you were there for a while, you could see different people that you recognize, and you realize that they're like you, but it was strange because I had never seen anything like that before.
When you got time off, what did you do for fun?
Well, we were able to, if you lived, stayed you're on the base, you could get a truck and you could go hunting. Well, in the rice fields over there was, a lot of birds flying in, nice birds. And so I did that a couple of times, and whatever ducks we got, we brought back, and one of our friends knew the cook over at the officers' quarters, and we used to get that, and then we'd get some eggs in return or stuff like that, barter. And I did get a nice small buck deer. Coming back from duck hunting, and had to go up over a mountain pass before you could go down into the valley where the base was. And it was just about dark. We came around the corner, and I was riding what they call shotgun, right next to the driver. Came around, and this deer came right up in front of us like this. Bang. And we brought him back, and we did some bartering with that too. There wasn't anything else to do.
Did the military change you from being like childish to being more adult?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
How so?
Well, when I got back, because I didn't know what I was going to do, before I went in the service, I worked in the Fall River shipyard, and I could have gone back to there, but I just didn't want to do it anymore. And while I was in the service, I did have a chance to get pharmacy training. There was about half the year when I was there, there was a bulletin that came out that they were looking for, they wanted to open up a pharmacy department. So there was a chance to go to Japan, and I forget it was like 6 or 8 weeks. Excuse me. And that's where I got the pharmacy training. I came back to my outfit and opened up a small pharmacy. And so when I came back to the States, I naturally went to that because I had that training. So I went into Boston and went to New England College of Pharmacy, and I went in and I spoke with a professor there that happened to be an ex-military guy. And I told him the story, and I said, but I don't know if I can come here. I said, I graduated from high school, but I never did well in grades. I was interested in football and girls. But he said, all right, after I talked to him, he says, no, I'll take care of you as long as you do your work. So I just started there, and it was a 4-year course. College course, and but I was able to go through the summer and take most of the courses that I had to catch up with that class, and so I did it in 3 years.
Did you do well in that course?
Yes, because and that came from the service, I have to admit that, because I knew once I committed myself, I had to, do a good job, and that's what I did, and I didn't have any problem at all. I was terrible at math before I went there, but if you pay attention from the beginning, take good notes, and you can do it, and I did it.
What was your class rank?
What was my ring?
Your class rank.
Oh, what do you mean by rank?
What were your grades?
I had very good grades. I graduated cum laude, cum laude.
Did anyone you know in the service have an effect on your life?
Well, for a while when I was stationed in Oklahoma after I got back, I got into an outfit that was a medical outfit too, and because I had the pharmacy training, I ended up going into their pharmacy, and one of the fellows there that was head of the pharmacy, he was, these are all college graduates, and of course I wasn't, so. But this guy was really a nice guy and hard-working guy, and in fact, I was the godfather of his child, and but I lost track of him after I got out of the service. But he was really a down-to-earth, great guy, and there were a lot of them. I'm not just singling him out, but he sticks in my mind.
What was the equipment and your uniform like? The equipment and the uniform, what was it like? Was it well made?
Oh yeah. The uniforms are all well made. Yeah.
Did you serve anywhere else but Korea?
No, just in the United States.
Were you in Japan?
Yeah. I had to go to Japan once from Korea. I'm trying to think of how it happened, but I ended up, I had a medical problem. I had a salary, and of course I didn't know what it was. I got shipped to Japan, and I got into a pretty good sized hospital, and so I was there for I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, and they were going to operate on me, and they were wheeling me down the room, and I coughed a little, and the doctor that was walking aside on the by the gunny or whatever I was on, he said, "Let me listen to you." He put the stethoscope on me. He said, "You have pneumonia. You're not going in the operating room." So I went back up and just recuperated up in the hospital, and then let me go, and I went back to my outfit.
What parts of Japan did you see?
Tokyo, Yokohama, Hiroshima, and that was about it. Most of the stuff when we're traveling, in fact, when we got to Tokyo, they took our uniforms away, the Air Force ones, and gave us plain Army uniform. And I guess that was so that nobody could know how many troops from which outfit were going here or going there. A lot of it was secrecy. So.
While you were in Japan, did you see any destruction or other signs that a war had happened?
Hiroshima was flattened. Went by there in the train, and the train had slowed down, and the conductor happened to be either near me or whatever, and we're looking out the window, and he pointed at me. He said, like, "This is what you did, But the other thing I noticed on that train going down through Japan, south, every mountain that just went by had a big hole in it. They had caves, and they would have fought forever down there. And I think in the end, probably more people would be killed on both sides if it kept on. But So I didn't know what to do to conduct. I just said, what am I going to do? It wasn't me. But it was just flat, devastated.
Did you meet any locals from Japan or Korea throughout your service?
No, not locals, no. I didn't have anybody bowing to me. Oh yeah, okay, that's something I had forgotten. When you walk down the street in Japan then, and you walk by people, they would bow down like this.
How many people were in the training camps with you, roughly?
Oh God, it's hard to tell. Over there in Japan, when I went to that school, they were mostly army guys, and I don't know, I could have been 150. And they all had to take the first aid course, because that's what most of them ended up being, first aid men, right on the battlefield, so it was no joke. And I know that, I think the outfit was from New York, 45th Division. And I don't know, everywhere I went there was small groups, but no, except on the ships were just troop ships. I mean, I don't know how many guys on the boat, but you know, it was, I don't know, maybe it's 300, 400, 500 guys, I don't know.
When you were being shipped back to America, do you have any stories of when you were on the ship?
Yeah, well, I got caught, they put me in KP, they just line you up as you go by, you, and you. And I ended up on what they call the clipper room. It was where there was a big steam table and stuff, and every time you got a plate, it had to go in the steam thing. So, and before I got home, I lost 10 pounds. So,
would you ever visit the areas you served in?
I don't think I'd go out of my way to do it.
After the war, what did you end up doing?
Well, I went to pharmacy school.
And when you began your service, what did you do?
I worked in the shipyard. They were making all kinds of military ships down there. That Fall River, and that's in Quincy. It wasn't very far. And, but I just did that for a job. I knew I wasn't going to stay there. And that's with the service. You never know what's going to happen. You could, if you want to take advantage of what happens, and you can do all right. Otherwise, some guys, I guess, just don't do it. They don't, they just fall apart. But
you said that you met some men on the train to Korea. Do you ever hear from them?
no, not a one. Every time I made a move, I got in with a group, like basic training, and then we all got our orders. I was the only one that went this way. And then every place I went was the same way. I'd get orders, and they're always separated from who I was with. So I don't know whether I smell bad or what, I don't know.
Thank you for spending the time to answer our questions, and we thank you for your service.
Well, it's my pleasure. It was a pleasure to do it and a pleasure to be here. And I like your smiles.